All right, so today we're gonna dive into something
Yeah.
pretty fascinating, I
Yeah.
think. It's called the Lotus method, and
Yeah.
it's all about finding that inner peace and clarity,
Yeah.
so you can actually achieve your goals.
Right.
And we've got these excerpts from a text
Oh, like,
that follows this character named Gohan,
huh?
who's on this journey to master this method.
I see.
And get this, there are these key takeaways that are highlighted throughout the whole text.
Oh,
It's
wow.
like somebody knew we were going to do this deep dive.
That's amazing. Like, it's already set up for us.
Yeah, exactly.
It's quite remarkable how the text anticipates the reader's need for, like, practical application.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it starts by tackling something that I think we all wrestle with,
Mhm.
mental resistance.
Yeah.
So Gohan, the main character,
Okay.
he's like bombarded with distractions constantly,
Yeah.
seeking the easier, more pleasurable option.
Oh, yeah.
Ever felt that, Bull?
100%.
You know, you should be working on that big project.
But suddenly, alphabetizing your spice rack seems incredibly appealing.
Oh, totally. Happens to the best of us. I think I've rearranged my desk drawers
Yeah.
about 1,000,000 times to avoid actual work.
Right.
But the text makes this point that really caught my eye.
Okay.
This mental resistance
Mhm.
is actually our brain trying to protect us.
Interesting.
Like it's a built-in system to avoid discomfort at all costs.
I like that. That's a
Yeah.
really helpful way to look at it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Instead of beating ourselves up for getting distracted,
Mhm.
we can start understanding this tendency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And that's the first step to working with our minds rather than against them.
that's a good point. So how does this Lotus method help us work with our minds then?
Well, it seems to be all about embracing life's flow rather than constantly fighting it.
Okay.
So imagine a river, rushing downstream.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of trying to swim upstream against the current,
Right.
you learn to navigate the flow.
Okay.
You learn to use the current's energy to move forward.
That's how Gohan starts to view challenges.
Interesting.
Not as obstacles to resist, but as part of the current,
Okay.
something to learn from.
I'm picturing it like a kayaker,
Oh, yeah.
skillfully navigating rapids,
Uh-huh.
using the water's force to their advantage.
Right.
Not exactly a relaxing float down the river,
Right.
but there's definitely a sense of mastery there
Yeah,
in working with the elements
Yeah.
rather than against them.
that's a great analogy. And the source material brings in another powerful image.
Oh, okay.
The lotus flower,
Uh-huh.
pushing through mud to reach the surface and bloom.
Wow.
It's about resilience and growth,
Yeah.
even in the face of adversity.
I love that image of the lotus.
Yeah.
It really sticks with you. But how do we even begin to apply this go with the flow approach to our own lives?
Right.
It can feel a bit abstract, can it?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The text doesn't just leave us hanging with a vague concept.
Okay.
Gohan, the character, dives right into meditation,
Okay.
specifically the practice of Zazen.
Now, Zazen is a specific type of seated meditation for anyone listening who might not be familiar.
Right.
And the source material doesn't sugarcoat it.
Mm.
Gohan really struggles to quiet his mind at first.
Hmm.
I bet a lot of our listeners can relate to that feeling of your mind being like a monkey,
Oh, yeah.
swinging from vine to vine when you try to meditate.
Totally. Absolutely. Quieting the mind isn't an instant switch,
Right.
but the text highlights a really important point here.
Yep.
The power comes from consistent practice.
Right.
It's not about achieving a perfectly still mind on the first try,
Mm-hmm.
but about gently guiding your attention back to that stillness
Okay.
again and again.
So it's more like training a puppy than flipping a switch.
Yeah,
Patience and persistence are key.
precisely.
Yeah.
And those benefits we talked about earlier, like better control over impulses and challenges,
Right.
those start to emerge from that consistent practice.
Uh-huh.
Gohan begins to see challenges as possibilities instead of threats,
Wow.
which is a pretty incredible shift in perspective.
Imagine approaching your to-do list with that kind of mindset.
Right.
Seeing those tasks not as burdens, but as opportunities.
Exactly.
Okay, that part really excites me.
Yeah.
We've cultivated this inner peace,
Mm-hmm.
but how do we actually apply it in our daily lives?
Right.
It can't just be about feeling zen all the time, right?
You're exactly right. Inner peace isn't meant to be a retreat from life.
Okay.
It's meant to empower us in life.
Right.
And the text addresses this beautifully.
Good.
It explains that a calm mind leads to clear, purposeful actions.
Okay,
If
yeah.
your mind is scattered,
Yeah.
your actions will be scattered too.
It's like trying to cook dinner while juggling chainsaws.
Yes.
Bound to be a messy outcome.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And the text brings up this fascinating parallel with the Shaolin monks,
Okay.
who are known for their incredible physical discipline.
Mhm.
Their mastery, the source suggests,
Yeah.
stems from their deep mental control.
So by training the mind, they're essentially training their bodies to act with precision and intention.
Exactly. They are in perfect alignment. And we see this reflected in Gohan's journey.
Okay.
He starts applying these principles to his work and personal projects.
Hmm.
And guess what? His focus sharpens
Yeah.
and his achievements grow.
So it's not about becoming some unattached hermit,
Right.
but rather bringing that hard-won inner peace into the real world,
Yeah.
the messy, challenging world we all live in.
That's the true power of the Lotus method.
Right.
It's about finding that inner stillness to fuel effective action in the real world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Lotus method. Before we move on,
Yeah.
it's important to address something I think a lot of us struggle with,
Okay.
this desire for instant results.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a world of instant gratification, so it's natural to want that quick fix, you know,
Oh, yeah.
when it comes to personal growth too.
I'm definitely guilty of that.
Yeah.
I'll meditate for like 10 minutes and expect to be a Zen master by lunchtime. But the source material makes it clear that real growth,
Yeah.
like the blossoming of a lotus, unfolds over time with consistent effort.
It does.
It's a process, not a microwave meal.
Exactly. And this brings us to one of the most insightful lessons from the Lotus method,
Okay.
embracing the journey itself, rather than fixating solely on the destination.
Okay.
Gohan, the character we're following,
Right.
discovers that true fulfillment
Yeah.
lies not in reaching some distant goal, but in savoring each step, each challenge,
I see.
each moment of growth along the way.
So instead of constantly chasing after what's next,
Yeah.
we can find more joy and satisfaction in the process of becoming.
Right.
It's like enjoying the hike up the mountain, not just the view from the peak.
I love that analogy.
But how does this mindset shift change how we deal with all the inevitable obstacles that life throws our way?
That's where things get really interesting. Instead of seeing challenges as setbacks, you start to view them as opportunities
Okay.
for learning and growth. Remember that river analogy we talked about?
Yeah, the kayaker.
Yeah, imagine encountering a large rock in the middle of the current.
Uh-huh.
You wouldn't try to ram your kayak straight into it, would you?
Not unless I wanted a very short, very wet kayaking trip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You'd have to navigate around it,
Right.
adjust your course, use the force of the water to maneuver your way through.
So instead of resisting change, which is pretty much a recipe for stress and frustration,
Yeah.
we learn to flow with it, just like the river.
That's it.
But how do we actually cultivate that flexibility,
Right.
that go-with-the-flow mindset?
Mm-hmm.
It sounds great in theory, but in real life, it can be hard to let go of control.
It can. And that's where the concept of non-attachment comes in. Now,
Okay.
before you picture yourself renouncing all your worldly possessions and living as a hermit,
Okay.
let me clarify. Non-attachment isn't about detachment from life or
Right.
the things you care about.
Mm-hmm.
It's about recognizing that everything is in a constant state of flux. Your thoughts, your feelings, your possessions, your relationships,
Yeah.
they're all impermanent, always changing.
So non-attachment is more about loosening your grip on the things you cling to too tightly.
Yes.
It's about understanding that change is inevitable, and trying to resist it only creates suffering.
Exactly.
Kind of like holding onto a cactus. The tighter you squeeze, the more it hurts.
That's a great way to put it. The text uses another analogy.
Okay.
Imagining your hand holding a fistful of sand.
Mm-hmm.
If you squeeze too tightly, the sand spills out.
Right.
But if you hold it gently with an open hand, it remains.
I see.
Non-attachment is about finding that balance between engagement and acceptance.
Okay.
You can care deeply about things without needing to control them or be defined by them.
It's like learning to ride a wave instead of trying to control the ocean.
Yes.
You're still engaged, still participating, but you're moving with the energy of the wave
Right.
rather than fighting against it.
Exactly.
This is all starting to make a lot of sense. But I'm curious, how does forgiveness fit into all of this?
That's a great question. And the text connects forgiveness directly to non-attachment.
Right.
Holding on to resentment and anger,
Yeah.
the source material suggests, is like clutching a hot coal.
Ouch.
It only burns you.
Right.
Forgiveness, on the other hand, is like releasing that burning coal,
Uh-huh.
freeing yourself from the pain it's causing.
So forgiveness isn't about condoning someone else's actions
Right.
or saying that what they did was okay. It's
Yeah.
about releasing the negative energy you're carrying around, the
Yes.
resentment that's weighing you down.
That's it.
It's about freeing yourself from the past so you can move forward with greater peace and lightness.
Exactly. And the text makes it clear that forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself as much as to anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's about choosing to let go of the anger, the bitterness,
Okay.
and allowing yourself to heal.
But how do we actually do that?
Right.
How do we cultivate this letting go when it feels so hard?
Well, the text doesn't leave us hanging there. It offers several practical techniques
Yeah.
for cultivating this sense of peace and non-attachment in our daily lives.
Okay.
Starting with a very simple but powerful tool,
What's that?
our breath.
Our breath.
Now, before you dismiss this as some new age fad,
Okay.
consider this.
Yeah.
Our breath is our anchor to the present moment.
Okay.
When we focus on our breath,
Uh-huh.
we're bringing our attention to the here and now, to the sensations of our body,
Mm-hmm.
to the rhythm of our breath flowing in and out.
It's like hitting the pause button on all the mental chatter and worry,
Right?
even if it's just for a few moments.
Exactly. And the beauty of mindful breathing is that it can be practiced anytime, anywhere.
Right.
You don't need special equipment or a silent retreat. You can practice while you're walking the dog,
Yeah.
washing dishes, even waiting for the elevator.
Uh-huh.
It's about bringing your awareness to the simple act of breathing
Mm-hmm.
and using that awareness to ground yourself in the present moment.
So it's like a mini meditation that we can sprinkle throughout our day
Yeah,
whenever we need a dose of calm and clarity.
right.
It's like having a secret weapon against stress and overwhelm.
That's a great way to put it. And the text emphasizes that even just a few minutes of mindful breathing each day
Yeah.
can make a huge difference.
Right?
It's about creating those pockets of stillness in the midst of chaos,
Mm-hmm.
those moments where we can reconnect with our inner peace.
This is all making so much sense.
Good.
I feel like we're finally starting to see the practical side of the Lotus method, how it can be applied to even the busiest, most chaotic lives.
Absolutely. And there's more.
Oh, there's more.
The source material goes beyond mindful breathing
Okay.
and introduces another incredibly powerful practice, loving kindness meditation.
Loving kindness meditation. That sounds intriguing.
Yeah.
What exactly is that?
It's a beautiful practice, and
Uh-huh.
it involves cultivating feelings of compassion and goodwill towards ourselves and others. The text explains that by regularly engaging in loving kindness meditation,
Right.
we can strengthen our capacity for empathy, kindness, and connection.
So we're essentially training our hearts to be more open and loving.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And the text provides a step-by-step guide for this practice.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It starts with visualizing yourself,
Okay.
then loved ones, then
Mhm.
strangers, and even those you find challenging.
Wow.
You send each of them wishes for happiness, peace, and well-being.
I can imagine that being a really powerful experience,
Yeah,
especially in a world that often feels so divided and disconnected.
right.
This practice could be a game changer.
It could.
It's like we're actively choosing to cultivate love and compassion,
Mhm.
not just for ourselves, but for everyone.
Exactly. And the source material emphasizes that loving kindness meditation isn't just about feeling good. It's
Yeah.
about actively cultivating a more compassionate and interconnected way of being in the world.
Right.
It's about recognizing our shared humanity and extending kindness to everyone, even those who are different from us.
This is all resonating with me so deeply. It's
Boy.
like the Lotus method isn't just about personal transformation,
Yeah.
but about creating a ripple effect of peace and compassion
Uh-huh.
that extends outwards, touching everyone we encounter.
That's a beautiful insight. And it brings us to another key aspect of the Lotus method,
Okay, what's that?
mindful communication.
Mindful communication. That sounds like a tall order in our world of constant distractions and information overload.
It does.
How do we even begin to communicate mindfully?
It's simpler than you might think. The source material emphasizes the importance of bringing awareness and intention
Yeah.
to your words and actions.
Okay.
It's about speaking and listening with presence and compassion,
Mhm.
both to yourself and to others.
So it's about being fully present in our conversations,
Mm-hmm.
really tuning in to what's being said,
Yes.
both verbally and non-verbally.
Yeah.
No more scrolling through our phones while pretending to listen.
Exactly. It's about listening with our hearts as well as our ears.
Yeah.
Seeking to understand
Mhm.
rather than just waiting for our turn to speak.
Great.
And it's about speaking with kindness and clarity,
Okay.
choosing our words thoughtfully
Yeah.
and considering the impact they might have on others.
In a world where communication often feels rushed and superficial, mindful communication offers a way to connect more deeply and authentically.
It does.
It's like creating a space of genuine understanding and empathy, which is something we could all use more of.
Absolutely. And the source material offers practical tips for cultivating mindful communication in our everyday interactions.
Okay, like what?
It stresses the importance of active listening, asking clarifying questions,
Right.
and speaking from a place of genuine care and respect.
Cool.
It's about recognizing that our words have power and using that power wisely and compassionately.
Wow, this is really eye-opening.
Yeah,
It seems like the Lotus method goes way beyond individual growth
it does.
and touches upon how we interact with the world around us.
Precisely. It's about cultivating inner peace and then allowing that peace to radiate outwards,
Okay.
influencing our relationships, our communities, and ultimately the world at large.
Wow.
It's about recognizing our interconnectedness
Right.
and understanding that our actions, even the smallest ones, can have a ripple effect.
This is all so fascinating.
It is.
I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of the Lotus method,
Yeah,
and yet we've already uncovered so much wisdom and practical guidance.
we have, but there's even more to explore.
Oh, really?
Stay with us as we delve into the final part of our deep dive,
Okay.
where we'll uncover even more practical techniques and insights from the Lotus method.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into the Lotus method. We've covered a lot of ground, but this is where it gets really exciting.
It does.
Taking these abstract principles and actually seeing how they play out in real life.
Yeah, and the source material does a fantastic job of bridging that gap, between concept and application. Instead of just saying, be more mindful,
Right.
it shows us through Goen's journey how a calm mind actually translates into more effective action.
I remember the text even drew a comparison to the Shaolin monks,
Yeah.
who are renowned for their incredible physical discipline.
Right.
It's not just about brute strength, is it?
Exactly. The source suggests their mastery is deeply rooted in mental control.
Okay.
They cultivate that same deep stillness we've been talking about,
Yeah.
and it's from that place of stillness that their physical actions flow.
So imagine training your mind to a point
Right, yeah.
where it empowers your body to move with such precision and intention.
Right.
It's like a mind-body connection superpower.
That's a great way to visualize it.
Yeah.
And we actually see this unfold in Gohan's story. As he deepens his practice of meditation, cultivates inner peace.
Yeah.
He finds that his actions in his work and personal life become remarkably more focused and effective.
It's like he's finally able to cut through the noise and distractions that were holding him back. He's no longer reacting impulsively, but acting with intention.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this brings us to a really important distinction about the Lotus method.
Okay.
It's not about becoming passive or withdrawing from the world.
Right.
It's about harnessing that inner stillness to fuel effective action in the world.
So it's not about escaping challenges,
Right.
but rather facing them head on, but with a calm and collected mind.
Exactly.
Like that saying, the eye of the storm.
Yeah,
There's a sense of calm and clarity, even in the midst of chaos.
that's a perfect analogy.
Mm.
And the source material points to another fascinating benefit of this calm action,
Okay.
enhanced creativity.
Oh, wow.
Gohan discovers that as his mind becomes more peaceful, creative solutions to problems seem to flow more easily, as he's less likely to get stuck in rigid thinking patterns.
It reminds me of how when you're stressed and overwhelmed, it feels like your mind just shuts down.
Yeah,
But when you're relaxed and focused, it's like a floodgate of ideas opens up.
absolutely. And this creative flow extends beyond problem solving.
Oh, really? The text describes how Gohan's artistic pursuits also flourish
Okay.
as he embodies the principles of the Lotus method.
Interesting.
It's as if that calm, clear mind provides fertile ground for creative expression.
So it's not just about productivity,
Right.
but also about tapping into a deeper well of inspiration and creativity.
That's it.
I'm curious, though, was there anything in the text about how to apply this to everyday challenges? Like, I love the idea of being a creative powerhouse.
Yeah.
But what about dealing with the more mundane, frustrating parts of life?
Yeah, the source material doesn't shy away from the reality that applying these principles takes effort and practice.
Right.
Gohan doesn't magically transform overnight.
Right.
He faces setbacks, experiences moments of doubt, gets frustrated when things don't go as planned.
Yeah.
It's through these challenges that he truly learns the power of self-compassion.
So there's a learning curve, and we shouldn't expect to master this overnight.
Right.
It's like learning any new skill.
There are going to be bumps along the way, But the key is to keep practicing and be kind to ourselves in the process.
Exactly. And the text emphasizes that self-compassion is an essential part of the journey.
Okay.
Gohan learns that being kind to himself, especially when he makes mistakes or falls short of his expectations, is crucial for staying motivated and continuing to grow.
It's so easy to be our own worst critics, isn't it?
It
To
is.
beat ourselves up when we stumble or fall short.
Yeah.
But the Lotus method encourages us to be more like a supportive friend to ourselves,
Yes.
acknowledging that growth is a process and setbacks are inevitable.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And it brings us back to that powerful lotus analogy we talked about earlier.
Right. The lotus rising from the mud.
Yeah, the lotus doesn't just magically blossom overnight.
Right.
It pushes through mud, obstacles, all sorts of difficult conditions, slowly and steadily, until it finally reaches the surface and blooms in all its glory.
And that image of the lotus rising from the mud is such a perfect metaphor for the human spirit, isn't it?
It is.
We all face challenges and setbacks in life.
Yeah.
But the Lotus method reminds us that we have the strength and resilience to push through, to overcome, to emerge even stronger on the other side.
That's a powerful message. And it highlights one of the most profound takeaways from the text.
Okay.
True strength comes from within. It's not about external achievements or accolades, but about cultivating an inner sense of peace, clarity, and resilience.
Okay.
It's this inner strength that allows us to navigate the ups and downs of life with grace.
So it's not about seeking validation or approval from the outside world, but about finding that unwavering sense of self-worth and confidence that comes from within.
Exactly.
It's about knowing that no matter what life throws our way, we have the inner resources to handle it.
That's it. And the text suggests this inner strength is cultivated through consistent practice of the principles we've been exploring: meditation, mindfulness, self-reflection.
Okay.
It's about showing up for ourselves day after day, tending to our inner growth with the same care and attention we'd give to a beautiful garden.
That's such a beautiful image, tending to our inner garden,
Yeah,
nurturing the seeds of peace, compassion, and wisdom.
it is.
And just like a garden, the more we tend to it, the more it flourishes.
Absolutely. And the most beautiful part is that the fruits of this inner work extend far beyond our individual lives.
Okay.
As we cultivate greater peace and compassion within ourselves, we naturally radiate that energy outward, creating a ripple effect that touches everyone around us
Wow.
and contributes to a more harmonious world.
That's an incredibly powerful message, isn't it?
It is.
It's like the Lotus method is not just a personal growth journey,
Right.
but a pathway to creating a more peaceful and compassionate world.
Exactly.
It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected and that our actions, no matter how small,
Yeah.
have the potential to make a difference.
Yeah. And I think the source material leaves us with a powerful question to ponder.
Okay.
If you were to apply the Lotus method to one specific area of your life right now, where would you start? What mud might you need to push through to reach your full bloom?
That's such a thought-provoking question.
Yeah.
And it underscores the fact that each of our journeys with the Lotus method will be unique.
Right.
It's about taking these principles and weaving them into the tapestry of our own lives, finding what resonates with us,
Yeah.
and creating our own unique path to growth and blossoming.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of it. There's no one right way to do this.
Right.
It's a flexible framework,
Okay.
a set of guiding principles that we can adapt to fit our individual needs and circumstances.
Well, that brings our deep dive into the Lotus method to a close.
It does.
We've explored the power of inner peace, mindful action, embracing the journey, and cultivating self-compassion.
And we hope this exploration has sparked your curiosity and given you some practical tools and inspiration to apply these principles to your own life. Remember, the journey of growth is a lifelong adventure. And just like the lotus, we all have the potential to blossom even amidst the muddiest of circumstances.